Hello and welcome everybody, Duckville here. We've got a Protoss vs Zerg matchup coming straight at you from Daybreak, the former map in the ladder map pool, but unfortunately it has been removed. Down at the bottom left hand side, he's a red Protoss player. He's from Canada. I was about to say Canada, which is what my brother used to call Canada. That was really weird. But he's from Canada. He's a Grandmaster Protoss player on the NA ladder, formerly with Triumph Gaming, is now a part of the Clarity Gaming Academy team. It is Bones. He's recently released a replay pack. You can find it over on teamliquid.net. There is a thread there, or if you actually jump onto Bones' Liquipedia page, you can find a link for it there. But he's a very solid Protoss player. He's been making his way up through Heart of the Swarm, been doing really well, and has a very solid sort of I don't want to say he's overly passive, but he's generally quite a passive player. It's a little bit like when I used to play Protoss, just sort of sitting back, you know, being very turtley, just sort of keeping an eye on what's going on, reacting as needed, and then dealing with your foe as they come along. His opponent, however, Liquipedia says he's a little bit eclectic. I would rather use the word eccentric. It is Root Gaming's CatZ, well known for doing some crazy things with hatcheries in opponents' main bases. Some would say a little bit like TLO, but not, I think, in a little bit of a different vein of how both of those guys used to do things. But he is still, regardless of how he plays, CatZ is still an excellent Zerg player in the NA scene, has been just roaming around, just dominating all sorts of players with all sorts of crazy things that you would never expect. And at the moment, well, he's been doing really good with the Root Gaming team, just sort of setting things up, moving the team along, and doing quite nicely with that. Here in this game, we'll see him expand down to his third base quite quickly. Going to scout out that it is going to be a Nexus first from his opponent, so the Forge going to be a little bit delayed here for Bones. And, well, we'll see if CatZ is trying to keep this drone alive. I'm sure if anyone knows CatZ, has watched his stream, he does try and keep this drone alive inside his opponent's main base as long as possible, and it can cause all sorts of interesting things to happen. We get three hatch before pull from CatZ. Again, very reasonably standard sort of thing to see from him. When you see your opponent go for a Nexus first, it is very safe to do this kind of thing, just because of the simple fact that they're not going to have the ability to get any gateway units out too quickly. If you can keep an eye on the pesky probe that starts, that first comes out for the Protoss, then you can keep an eye on whether they are going to set up any cannons at your bases. And as long as you react accordingly, if a cannon does go up, or like a pylon or a cannon does go up, then you can deal with that, you know, and then, you know, you're in a really good position as a Zerg player when you've got all three of those hatcheries up very quickly. You can drone up very fast. And what CatZ has done here is just sort of a part of that. Building this hatchery inside the main base, it says to Bones, well, you know, you need to deal with this pretty quickly, because if there's a hatchery inside your base and you've got, you know, lings suddenly building, a queen even can build in there, it gets very, very worrisome for a Protoss player. So he's forced 6 probes off the mineral line. I don't know exactly how much, how many, like the actual cost of a probe or a worker per minute is on the mineral count, but that's still a decent amount of minerals that has gone down the drain. Like, we can see the CatZ has been up at around about 700 minerals, and I believe that Bones was a little bit further down. It was around about sort of 680 or so for quite a while there. The drone's still alive. The hatchery was cancelled. He's going to get a good scan out of what's going on. We can see the 2 gases here for Bones. Back at home for CatZ, however, instead of throwing down the spawning pool as quickly as you would normally see, well, he does have it there finally, but we also have a 4th hatchery being built just outside the natural, and this will be this is another interesting factor of the way the CatZ plays, just throwing down that that very quick 4th hatchery, a macro hatch if you will, just allowing him to get that extra little bit of production out. This frees up one of the queens. Normally, a lot of players you'll see will just get their injects going on the natural and the main as quickly as possible. With the 4th hatchery already here, this means that your queen can actually get started with some creep spread very quickly. It doesn't necessarily have to be injecting straight away, because you'll always have that extra few larvae coming out of the 4th hatchery. So this is a really exciting thing about the way the CatZ plays. Just seeing really interesting, innovative sort of things that come out of him, and it looks like that drone is finally going to get spotted out by one of Bones' zealots here. Comes across a couple of swipes with those side blades there, and the drone does go down. So for Bones, let's take a look at what he is up to. We've got the gateway started. Of course, that cybernetics core is also there as well. Mothership Core will pop out. She's going to provide a little bit of, you know, just ability to scout around right at the start. Bones being very careful here, has scouted out his third base just in case there was something fishy going on there. And, well, for the moment, I don't think we're going to see too much aggression from either of these players. Bones is just going to get his tech up and running, get the standard sort of things going here. He likes to expand off like a one-gate robo kind of style here, getting a reasonably quick third base. You normally see that get picked up at around about the 9-minute mark or so, something around about that. But he does try and scout through the main base here. Doesn't really get too much vision of what's going on, but there is a Roach Warren here from CatZ. We've now got both gases, the lair on the way with that extra little bit of gases that has just finished up. And as we can see, the upgrades haven't started for the metabolic boost. That has not been even started right now for CatZ. He's probably going to pick that up pretty soon. There it is. So he does get started on the metabolic boost, so those Lings will have their little bit of speed here. He's trying to scout through to see what Bones is up to. We'll see the Forge spinning here, a little bit of a sign of what's going on, but also does catch that Robo just finishing up now. A nice little bit of vision there for that Overlord. And in fact, is he going to get away? No way that Overlord, yeah. He's gonna die. Alright. So CatZ does get a little bit supply blocked right now, but he's up to a nice total of drones. 50 drones right now with the with that fourth hatchery up and running. Queens all over the shop right now. We'll probably see he's up to 4 right now. We've got a 5th just being built at the third base down towards the bottom right hand side. And we'll probably see him just prepare for the mid-game. I doubt that we'll see CatZ go for any kind of early attacks or anything like that. Despite having that Roach War in there, this is not necessarily for going for some sort of crazy, or not crazy, but for a Stefano-style huge max out or anything like that. From what I've seen on CatZ's stream and a couple of his replays that have been posted on the Root Gaming website, he loves to just sort of sit back, play a very turtling style, and this is part of where CatZ's philosophy of thinking that Zerg versus Protoss is actually very Zerg favored towards the late game comes from, because you can sit back, drone up really hard. We can see he's now up to 71 drones already. And you can just sort of sit back, you get some static defense up, you get some Hydras for air defense, you get also, we'll probably see Swarm Host as well, and split map is something that CatZ likes to see in the ZVP matchup. We can see that he's going to start spreading that creep as well, always very good with that, and we'll see how far he gets, because Bones is a player who I've seen, he gets out and observer reasonably quick, it does scout around and try and kill off some creep tumors as quickly as he can, but with the third base now in operation, Bones going to be moving into a situation where he can get started on the more powerful units. We've got an Immortal coming out. There will probably be a couple of Colossi getting started very soon as well. We see the Robo Bay just finishing up inside the main base. Blink also being researched, so we will have that mobility on the Stalkers as need be. And he's, well, these guys just very passive for the moment. Both of them just not willing to really push out and get too many, you know, too much harassment going or anything like that. Just content to sit back. We've got CatZ researching +1 on the missile attacks and also the Carapace. Groove Spines now being researched for those Hydras, along with the Roach Speed also being upgraded. And, well, yeah, we're just sort of going to sit back quite passively for the moment. Bone's going to throw down a couple of Stargates as well, just in case he needs those Phoenix to come out for an anti-muta force. And, well, I think we'll just continue on with a relatively passive game until this happens. CatZ coming along with very standard sort of Ling Hydra composition, trying to attack the third base, but I think the Bone should be relatively okay. The Hydra's trying to get a good arc here, but unfortunately, they're not really able with that kind of arc to get a huge amount of damage here. And so we see that they do get a decent amount of damage, but Bones finally brings that first Colossus across, and that is going to be the end of that aggression for the moment, because CatZ, with these slow roaches, will have to be, will have to move back for the time being, just because with the Photon Overcharge active on the Nexus, the first Colossus coming about, and despite not having Thermal Lance, one Colossus is still a little bit of a scary thing when there's a couple of force fields to back it up. So Bone's going to protect his third base quite easily here. We'll see a couple of cannons go down just in case of the need to defend against mutas. But CatZ, as we said, still relatively passive. We see some Swarm Hosts now popping out. His fourth base also on the way. Keep in mind, this means that CatZ is up now on 5 hatcheries in total once this completes. And with those Swarm Hosts, he's going to be able to hold his opponent back. We'll probably see that Turtle style get started here from the Zerg player from Root Gaming. A few Spine Crawlers now going down at the fourth base. We can see the Bones still content to get his tech up and running. +2 on the weapons, just about to finish up now. A couple of Phoenix also being built. In fact, we'll have a total of 6 Phoenix. A little bit of a later timing here. these aren't necessarily just to sort of, you know, these aren't always just to say no mutas for you, but these can also catch a Zerg player out. Sometimes if you run along with around about 6 Phoenix, you can sometimes get a decent amount of kills by picking up some queens, picking up a couple of drones inside the mineral lines. But CatZ with his spore crawlers prepared should be okay. Will lose his queen though, I believe. Where are the other queens? There's one coming down, a couple from the natural base are on their way down, and in fact the queen, there's a transfuse. Well done by CatZ there, just a transfuse, save that queen, and I think that the Phoenix will be forced back. The Hydra's coming across from the left hand side, and that was a pretty decent save by CatZ there on that queen. So he's keeping his economy in shape. We can see him up at 76 drones right now. We've got another 22 drones and our building along with the hive tech on the way, and securing his main base with some spine crawlers here. We can also see there is a spore just at the back there. There it is. There you go. And CatZ is just going to move into a position where he can slowly start to turtle himself here, where he doesn't necessarily need to attack, but if you get all this tech up and running, 2-2 now about to finish up for those Hydras. Pathogen glands on the way from the infestation pit, and CatZ's going to try and deny this fourth base, but I don't think that's going to last too long. A few Zealots going to warp in. They don't have charge, but they do have +2 upgrades, so they will shred those Hydras pretty quickly, regardless of whether they're able to catch them, or I suppose, you know, they will be able to catch them eventually. But CatZ will be content with the fact that he's sitting up there on 4 bases. We've got the Vipers now starting to move into this very... it's not necessarily like a deadly composition where, oh my god, suddenly all of these guys are approaching. But when you try and walk into a large total of swarm hosts, some spine crawlers, some spores, then backed up by Vipers, the dragonflies of the sky, and some infestors as well, which are about to finish up. So it's a very difficult thing to push into that as a Protoss. Like, you can have, you know, all sorts of things in your composition. We'll check in a moment what Bones has, but it is very difficult to push into that kind of defense, where you've got lots of spellcasters there throwing out fungals, of course the Abduct as well, along with Blinding Cloud, and then with the Swarm Host on the ground just sort of protecting the ground forces. It's just very difficult to try and push into this. So CatZ is going to be very secure here on his 4 bases, almost 5 bases, and we'll take a look at what Bones is up to right now. He's got a total of 4 Colossi. We've got a few Templar up at the back. The few Void Rays have also been added into the mixture here, but he's sitting here and he's thinking, well, alright, I'm up on 4 bases, I'm relatively content right now, but does he have enough to push against his opponent? Because soon we'll probably see CatZ start to slowly try and push in towards the in the middle section of the map, and with an Abduct on that Warp Prism, that also hurts. I found out yesterday, or actually that when I was playing a game, that if you abduct a Warp Prism when it's in Prism Pylon mode, then it actually cancels the warp in. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't really think of that, but obviously it sort of makes sense because the Pylon power radius is then gone. But I don't know. I didn't think of that at the time. Anyway, so in this situation where Bones is going to have a lot of trouble, he can't really push this way just because of the fact that the creep is going to spot everything coming in. CatZ can just reposition himself, move these swarm hosts into a spot where he's sort of more over here, attacking up that way. If Bones tries to push through this section here, then of course CatZ can reposition just towards this section as well. And, you know, as everyone has sort of guessed by now, join the dots. If Bones tries to push this way, then the similar sort of thing is going to occur. So what do you want to do as a Protoss here? Well, from some of the, you know, my own sort of thoughts on the topic, you do need to have these Colossi out to defend against those swarm hosts. You can't let those Locusts get into a position where they can push against the ground forces too easily, and Bones has done that quite well, up to 7 Colossi right now. They do have 003, I should say, on their upgrades, so they will be able to power down those Locusts very quickly. But one thing you certainly need to do is try and get some like multi-pronged attacks going. Warp Prisms, you know, multiple Warp Prisms coming down to this sort of base here. If he can drop in some Zealots, some DTs, try and attack into this base across at the top side as well. In fact, we can see a Warp Prism making its way across here. It's got a couple of DTs and a Zealot. But if you can, you sort of need to get this harassment done, because when you get to a later stage here where a Zerg player is just sort of segmented off, they've split the map in half with a comfortable 6 bases, perhaps even, or 5 bases moving up to 6 or 7 bases, then it's just very hard to move against this free army force of all of these swarm hosts, and not to mention the energy units of the Vipers and those infestors as well. So it's very important to try and utilize these warp prisms here. We can see the Bones is just going to try and drop one off here inside the main base. I'm not sure. There's no real warp ins at the moment. He's actually just about maxed out, so there's not going to be too much for him to do. He's got all these Colossi at the front, just burning away those Locusts when they can. Looks like the warp prism has been spotted. There it is. There's an abduct. He's going to try and warp in some Templar here, but actually pulls it out, and bam, there you go. He actually takes out the warp prism while it was warping in, moves it out of position, and then cancels that warp in here. So CatZ up to a total of 13 swarm hosts. We've got a ridiculous total of spine crawlers through the middle here. 37 spine crawlers are out on the map right now, guys. 40 now, in fact, along with the 11 spore crawlers as well. And this just starts to get very difficult for Bones to move in on. He's going to have a little bit of a difficult time coming in to attack this the main base here. If he can get the hive, maybe take out the spawning pool and the roach warren, that's quite nice. But, you know, when it comes down to it, unless you can sort of disrupt some of this economy, it's going to be a very difficult time trying to make it through anything that a Zerg player is doing right here. And we can see the CatZ, both of these players, just banking up a ridiculous amount right now. We've got 7,000 minerals for CatZ, along with almost 5,000 gas. Bones has got 4,000 minerals, along with about 2,000 gas. So he's going to start to move into the carriers. I would have liked to perhaps have seen these come out a little bit quicker. I think that dealing with this composition, it is going to be something that you may need carriers for, but even then, carriers can be abducted, they can be fungal down, you can neural parasite them as well. We can see that CatZ has actually researched the neural parasite upgrade, and it's just very, very tough for a Protoss player to try and push into this, which I think Bones is starting to realize here. We've got 8 Colossi out, a lot of those guys around to burn down all those Locusts on the ground. And the carriers do start to make their way out with the +2 on the air weapons now being researched as well. And CatZ just says, you know what? I've got so many spines, I've got so many spores protecting things here, a couple of swarm hosts as well. I'm going to take the, what is that, the 6th base down here towards the bottom middle side. And, well, you know, there's not going to be too much contested competition there from Bones to try and stop that base. And there you go, Bones just sort of saying, what am I actually meant to do with this? Like, as we said, you can't attack into this too easily, just because of the fact that if the swarm hosts reposition themselves, in fact, as we have seen them do, they're slowly just going to start to make their way in through the middle here. And yeah, CatZ actually sort of agrees it's literally impossible to beat this. I would love to see someone try and deal with this as well. I think it is a very tough thing to do. Normally, your Skytoss Protoss will depend on Void Rays, Templar, and also Tempest to really get some damage going. But if you've got the sort of the main part of this composition that we can see from CatZ is the Swarm Host, if your Templar can't move into position to feed back the Vipers, in fact, I can't even find them, they're there. If they can't feed back the Vipers, then you're going to get abducted. If you can't feed back the infestors, you're going to get fungal and neural parasited. In fact, he's got 10,000 minerals. He can't even display because my text is so big here. But so a key thing as a sort of a late game Protoss army are these Templar. And if they can't move in because there's just constantly locusts pushing about, you're in a lot of trouble. And I think this is kind of what CatZ has discovered a little while ago, is that it just gets too hard to try and deal with that kind of composition. So we see Bones starting to trade out some of his units. I think perhaps trading out a couple of these Colossi might be a good idea, but what I would really like to see is this young lady. Where is she? I don't even know where it is. Oh, there it is. Mothership Core. How long has it been since you guys have seen a mothership? Because we now have a mothership on the field. This is certainly going to help. You can cloak all of these units on the ground. That's going to protect them from the locusts. And maybe this is one way that someone will figure out how to deal with this style that CatZ is employing here. I would think perhaps that if he could cloak and somehow get some Templar in range to feed back the locusts or the Vipers or the infestors, then maybe you might be able to deal with this. But it is going to be very, very tough regardless. So Bone's going to bring in a couple of DTs, just warping them in up towards the top side. They're going to see if they can make their way through here, but there are so many spores to utilize the detection there. The Spine's going to just clog up this position as well. And CatZ, despite the fact that he hasn't actually done much, he's controlling this game right now. And this is perhaps a little bit of a problem for any Protoss players out there. If you've encountered this, please be sure to leave a comment, just sort of your thoughts on what to do about this particular mixture that CatZ has been up to. But with the carriers now out, maybe some some air forces may start to help out in the in an offensive presence here. But Bones is he's in a tough spot right now. Mothership Core helping out with the cloak, also that Purifier Beam, 9 damage on 6 attacks, weapon range of 7, just in case any of you have forgotten what a Mothership does, because it's been so long. She also has the Time Warp, and there it is, wow, an Abduct on the Mothership, and then throws down the Neuroparasite, dances around a little bit, uses up that energy on a Time Warp there, cloaks up his own units. That is, it's been a long time, I'm sure, since anyone has seen a Zerg get cloaked by a Neuroparasited Mothership, but that just happened, ladies and gentlemen, because that's just how CatZ decides to play out this map with this mixture. And Bones, well, he's very stuck right now. Immortals trying to make their way through the top side. Looks like they're not actually going to get too much done just because of how many spine crawlers there are. But he will be able to take some of them down, not until those Hydras come across, and the Hydras will finish off those Immortals pretty quickly there. And, well, Bones, what are you going to do at this stage? You know, this is that kind of point where I sort of agree with what Bones said before. What am I meant to do but just sort of sit here and die? Well, you know, as a commentator, I'm trying to sort of make this a little bit more exciting for you guys, but I mean, this is just a very strong play here from CatZ. This late game, super heavy total style from CatZ. Lots of Infestors now out. We've also got all those Vipers as well. I don't believe there's a massive, yeah, just 3 Vipers at the moment. Not a huge total, but still, a few of those Vipers out. 17 Swarm Hosts, and then for our Protoss player Bones, he's got 4 Void Rays, we've got 6 Templar out, a couple of Carriers, and then 9 Colossi, and he's maxed out. He can't actually warp in anything else right now. So what we'll probably see Bones do is throw away some of his probes. We're now mined out in the main base, the natural, the third, looking a little bit there as well. And we'll probably, there you go, he's going to bring in a huge amount of gateways right now. And the possibility for Bones, like, you know, I'm just trying to think through options that Bones has right now. A few more carriers, certainly going to help out. And I think, if anything, it's going to rely on a Mothership. And just sort of tactical movement of things like the Mothership and like the Templar. And we see a Neuroparasite on the Void Ray there. Takes that down, and wow, my computer is starting to get a little bit slow because of how many units are on the field right now. But we've got CatZ now at 180 supply, so he's dropped down a little bit. But as we can see, Viper's feeding on one of the hatcheries here. Just no buffet buildings for CatZ. I'm sure he could use some of these spore crawlers, but he's deciding that he's going to make his way up through the top path of the map here, just to secure this base up at the top side, the 7th base for CatZ. That'll be just for you guys if you're counting at home. And the Swarm Hosts continue to push through. We've still got 7 of them here in the middle section, protected by the spores, protected by the spines as well. And CatZ is just starting to really cement his position on the map right now. We're going to have all... Look at that. We've just got so many spore crawlers and spine crawlers here. Viper's starting to feed yet again on that hatchery. That's getting down on its health right now. Around about halfway down. But Bones, well... He's mixed it up now. We've got 8 carries. We've got an Oracle is also out. Where is that Oracle? All right. I want to see what this can do, because I'm not really sure what an Oracle is going to do with so much Spore Crawler protection right now. We'll follow this Oracle because you all know what's happening in the middle there on the minimap. We can just see a lot of Locusts pushing in. CatZ is now starting to control that top side. But the Oracle is going to find its way towards this, towards the bottom right corner base, but there is a Spore Crawler here. Spore will be able to take that out. In fact, the second Spore may be doing the damage there. But no, Bones finds a sweet spot. He's going to get a couple of kills here. It's going crazy right now on Daybreak, guys, because we have finally found some units dying. And that Oracle going to go to town on the Spine Crawler. Unfortunately, not the old school Oracles that we used to see in very early beta, where they just decimate buildings. But Bones gets a little bit of damage done, but not necessarily anything too consequential. So... Bones sitting at a total of 8 carriers now. We'll probably see him look to start moving out right now, because I think that, you know, if it was me, I'd sort of be thinking just, you know, just 1A, because I'm not really sure what is going to happen from here. The CatZ up at 199 supply is now maxed out. We've got lasers all over the place. Upgrades still coming along from CatZ. Double Spire back here is now finishing up. +3 on air attacks, +2 on air carapace. And, well, CatZ has got so many infestors out. It's interesting to see these guys utilized in this kind of fashion. In Wings of Liberty, you would have seen 28 infestors and said, oh, well, that's a standard sort of Zerg game. But here in Heart of the Swarm, of course, it's a little bit different, just given the fact that the infestors have sort of been usurped a little bit by Vipers, and you know, just the fact that they were nerfed. But CatZ abducts a Colossus, gets almost a very nice fungal there, and this is what I'm talking about here. The Swarm hosts with their Locusts just keeping the Templar back. You just can't push against that. Bones was trying to find a good spot to feed back some of those the Vipers there, and perhaps some of those infestors as well, and he actually does catch a couple, puts, wow, 2 of these on very low health, 4 health there for those Vipers. They're going to have to feed on that hatchery to get some of that energy back. But CatZ, well, he's got protection down here, just a few spore crawlers. Let's look at the building count right now. 95 spore crawlers are out on the map, ladies and gentlemen. 95, along with 59 spine crawlers. I don't know, what else do you got? We got 63 creep tumors. There's a lot of creep tumors out. He's spread all across the map here. CatZ is just absolutely all over this place. He's walled off. If you have a look at the minimap here, guys, actually, we'll have a look in a second. Another Colossus goes down. Some feedbacks from the Templar. They storm all over some of those infestors, and they do go down. But as I was saying, we were mentioning this before, like, just sort of creating a split map situation. And as you can see here, that's just a perfect line of defenses with Spore Crawlers, Spine Crawlers, Swarm Hosts, and of course those magic units that are there as well, the Spellcaster units, if you will, that are there to protect. And it's just very, very difficult to push against something like that. It's a little bit like playing against a mech Terran. If you were to siege up, build some turrets, sort of, you know, widow mines all over the place, that kind of thing. That is a little bit like what we are seeing here from CatZ, and I think that, who knows, maybe that was a little bit of his inspiration for this, but I'm sure there is... wow, that Observer gets caught out by the Vipers, and CatZ is just slowly whittling away his opponent here. Bones may look to head in for an attack very soon. And, well, you know, what do you do here? You know, guys, you can comment, of course. Please be sure to leave comments and all of that, just on what you think about this particular style from CatZ. I know there are some CatZ fans out there who have seen this all too well before and are just saying, yep, this is pretty strong stuff and a very standard kind of CatZ style. A lot of Zerg players I have seen have started to ramp up to this kind of very super turtle style, where you're just using Vipers, a Swarm Host, and those infestors, and a lot of static defense. And, you know, this could become quite a bit of a problem for Protoss players, but, of course, you know, there are still lots of powerful Protoss builds out there. We can see that, wow, Bones has made his way up to 15 carriers right now, 7 Colossi. I would love to see that Mothership come back onto the field right now. That could certainly help out. But CatZ is just sort of still sitting back at the moment, biding his time. 3 units, very helpful here. Those Swarm Hosts. Those 3 units. There are some of those probes, a fungal growth. Trying to fungal growth some of those interceptors, and catches a nice bunch of them there. Very nicely done. They'll probably die in a second, because I'm pretty sure it only takes like 4. Well, actually, I suppose they've got really good upgrades, don't they? 3 for Bones here on all of his units. CatZ does have his +3 on his carapace as well. These Locusts will have 3/3, doing their 15 damage per shot. And you can see the effect that this kind of play has. Bones, he originally started, his defensive posture was sort of sitting around this spot here, but now it's moved back. Look at the carriers off to the side. And there is a really nice fungal, a couple of abducts on those carriers, going to take them down. The neural parasite on 2 of the carriers, and 1 of them goes down. 2 of them go down, and a 3rd about to be polished away. There you go, 12 carriers now for Bones. He's somehow made his way towards the main base with a couple of these Void Rays. They're going to get caught out. An abduction on 1 of them. We'll see it go down. In fact, we'll be able to get inside the main base here, and with a couple of these, maybe the Void Rays can take down this hive, and, you know, who knows, perhaps that'll help seal the deal here, but you know, I'm just really not sure. Maybe some abducts from CatZ here is just sort of moving into position. What is he up to right now? Hydras. Alright, so we're going to see a couple of Hydras come across. These Hydras will be able to burn down those Void Rays very quickly. Yeah, there they go. So, 2 Hydras versus 1 Void Ray that's not actually focused. And that's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, CatZ has dropped out. I know it's a little bit of an anticlimactic end to this game, but CatZ did drop out. Bones mentioned this in the replay pack. Unfortunately, his opponent has dropped out right now. I would have loved to see this game go towards an end, but I think we all know that that our Protoss hero Bones was in quite a bit of trouble here. But that end battle would have been absolutely crazy. But I'm sorry it sort of ended like this, guys. But I just wanted to cast this game anyway, just to see this this really super turtly style from CatZ, and hope you all enjoyed it. I'll, you know, perhaps these guys will have another rematch and I'll be able to cast that one. But please be sure to leave some comments on what you think about this style from CatZ, or perhaps some ideas of what Bones could have done a little bit earlier. And I'll catch you all next time. Blast down those Hydras, bodies being blown apart everywhere there. And Awake is just left with a few swarm hosts in the ground. We've got 6 over here, not a massive total. And now we can see with the scan going down, I don't think that Awake